Hey there, Froglio here, your friendly underfrog of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I just completed a Tengu format tournament for Yu-Gi-Oh! Using this exact deck list right here, this crazy custom looking deck list that I personally came up with on my own. So you can see here there's like 3 Gene Warp Werewolf in the main deck, which is just this big 2000 attack vanilla monster. So it's just, and it just looks like a amalgamation of a bunch of just random cards. But believe me, this deck actually works pretty well. I wouldn't say it's like a really high tier deck or anything like it's not even tiered obviously, but like I don't even think it's quite at the the power level of the top tier decks. But I do firmly believe it can compete with some of the top tier decks. But very much a rogue strategy. And the whole deck here, uh, which I did enter into a tournament, which I will show you the matches with and all of that, is basically here just to like, turbo out a bunch of synchro monsters, particularly Earth synchro monsters with Naturia Beast and Barkion to shut down the opponent's spell cards and trap cards respectively, and just to be able to get out synchro monsters and even Xyz monsters in general with all these various combinations of cards. So this would be like an Earth synchro deck, or with this being an Earth Warrior synchro deck because of the warrior synergies. But personally, I like to call it Striker Synchro because of Spell Striker and TG Striker both being in this deck, 3 copies apiece, and each both have a very important role in said deck, with Spell Striker being a level 3 non-tuner that can self-special summon itself, from the hand with its effect, and then TG Striker being a level 2 Earth tuner monster, and both of them being warriors, so both can be searchable by Rhoda or returning alive here. And they can both just work in tandem with each other to make like a turn 1 Naturia Beast. Um, and they are just some of the best sort of extenders I have in the deck for creating synchros in general. And then I also just have these big beefy swinging monsters like Gene Warp Warwolf, Injection Fairy Lily is sort of like a secret sauce of the deck that can actually like win me games that I otherwise might not win. It can just push a lot of damage. Even Toon Goblin Attack Force, the main reason for this is because of Toon Table of Contents, and this is to help thin the deck out for more consistency while putting spells in the grave for Spell Striker. And you also need a bunch of cards in the grave for Barkion's effect, because you have to banish cards from the graveyard to get the trap effect negation, whereas Naturia Beast just sends it from the top of your deck instead. So these help fill your grave for that. Same with Upstart Goblin, put spells in the grave for Striker, fills your grave for Barkion, fills your grave, fills your grave. Same thing with all these, just fills your grave for Striker and Barkion, while thinning your deck out. And Toon Goblin Attack Force just so happens to be a level 4 Earth Warrior non-tuner monster, so it can go with like the bulb to go into a beast, or one of these to go into a Barkion, and you can go search it off of Returning Alive if you want to, or even a Rhoda, but normally you're searching it with this. And it's a 2300 attack monster. It does have summoning sickness, so it cannot attack on the turn that it's summoned, but when it does summon, it swings for, or when it does attack, it does swing for a lot of damage, and can wall off things like Thunder King, and Gene Ward Wolf can also beat over a Thunder King. That's very important. So this might be a silly looking card, just a normal monster, no effect or anything, but it is a normal summonable monster that can attack. It is a normal summonable monster that can attack over a Thunder King Ryo and other similar like 1900 attack guys like Neo's Alias and things like that. So it's a really strong card in the deck. And again, Injection Fairy Lily is like low key, like the MVP of the main deck, because it just wins me a lot more games than I feel like a lot of other cards do. And then we have the suite of generic trap cards in here to help protect our Barkion and Beast from monsters, because they're really good at stopping spells and traps and stuff like that. Um, and we have things in the side deck to protect them from those as well. but these are here to stop their big monster plays, which are the main plays that people will use to defeat them. And we've got double MST in the main deck, a third in the side. The side deck here is kind of a little bit janky. Like, I kept putting things in and out of the side deck, couldn't really make up my mind, so the side deck is probably the most prone to change out of everything here. I do have a Kais as one of the spicier just plays. It's not a spicy card in general in this format. It's very popular, but kind of spicy in this deck because you're not really trying to tribute summon that much, but you can because you have special summons in Striker, special summons in Instant Fusion. Even this can be a special summon if you're going second, and typically I'd side this in going second if I feel like it's good for the matchup or whatever. But it can also just help give momentum pushed in my direction, if you know what I mean. And this can help out things that this might not be able to out as easily, like a Gachi Kentetsu or something like that, if they're playing agents. And just, yeah, so I don't really know if I like the side deck. I definitely would change some things. But I just kind of threw it together, and this is my first ever tournament, so I just decided to go with it. Double Beast in the extra, and then just a bunch of generic stuff in the extra. 3 different instant fusion targets, a level 3, 4, and 5 all Earth non-tuners. So we have, anytime we open an instant fusion, we have lots of different plays we can make, usually, especially if we open with like a TG Striker or something, or a Glow Up Bulb. And then we got Foolish Burial for the bulb, which is the ideal play, but we can also send like a warrior to get back with Returning Alive, or send back any monster for Monster Reborn. And it's another spell card that fills the grave for Striker, and it fills the grave with itself plus a monster for Naturia Beast. So it looks like a slop fest of a deck on paper, but in practice it actually like goes really well together and can play really nicely. It can be a bit bricky. You can kind of run into dead hands a few times, especially with the Tune Table of Contents package here. But I feel like more often than not, it does sort of do things, right? Like, it does compete at a pretty solid level against top tier strategies in this format. Definitely not as good as the top tier decks, but it can compete against them, and I'm just happy with that, to be honest. But now allow me to show you some replays of the actual tournament we did, starting with round 1. So here's round 1 with Jim Bob over here. I am the 20th seed of this tournament, which is the bottom-most seed because there were only 20 players. And I am the newest person here, so my rating is like, I don't really have a rating, and I don't really have any records, so 20 seed makes sense. Plus, on top of it, I don't know if deck really matters for seeding. I don't think it does. I'm pretty sure it's just like rating and seniority and all of that. But on top of my lack of seniority, my deck is definitely like a table 500-esque deck. So yeah, I definitely deserve that bottom 20 seeding. And this is the 13 seed in Jim Bob going in round 1. Pretty middle of the road rated player among the 20 players playing. So here's my very first game, very first match. Pretty excited, but also nervous at this point. They get to go first, so that sucks. I normally want to go first. But I get double upstart here. And then, as you can see, I only got the TG Striker, which is half of my combo that I typically want. So, unfortunately, and while it's good to get back row, I don't typically want 3 back rows, so this was a bit of an unlucky-ish hand. But I do have Dark Hole for all the stuff that's going to go on here, so that's good at least, but it does open up his field for other plays though that he's going to get to do. I negate his guy with the warning. He gets Scatter Shot, or I mean Shell, Volcanic Shell, to just more card advantage. So he's playing like a quick draw Tengu plant deck. So it's a solid deck. It's a weird build of an otherwise solid deck that I'm going up against. And again, I have tuners up the wazoo. 3 tuners, no non-tuners. This is very atypical, so this first game is kind of a bad showing for this deck. It's a very atypically bad. Like, this deck, again, is pretty janky deck. I don't expect it to be as good or as consistent as some of these top meta decks, but this is definitely subpar even for this deck. So that's kind of unfortunate for me here. But yeah, he's going to go in attack, and yeah, I just lose there. So game 2 of match 1, I get to go first this time. But again, I don't open the combo. Instead, I get the Gene Warp Whirls, and he has the Heavy Storm. So I probably shouldn't have set 2 back row, but I felt I kind of needed both of them. And there's Heavy Storm is limited to 1, so it's whatever. I do Valor this so he can't get a draw off of it, and I do have a Dark Hole coming up, so I'm hoping to just stem the bleeding as much as I can and try to get some momentum, and this does help here. So I'm actually in a decent position here, sort of, but then he does top deck the Tour Guide, which will get him back into this game. It'll take him about a turn or so, but he does get back into this game off of the Tour Guide because the Sangan will search after he tributes it with his Caius, and the Caius will banish, so I'm on the back foot all over again. So this game is just not going my way either. So very, very bad showing for the stack. Match 1, but it is a double elimination tournament, so I'm not out yet. If I lose one more time, I will be out, but until I do lose, I'm not out yet. So we do get a match 2. Very bad showing for match 1. With a very atypical game 1. But let's go into match 2 here. So match 2 was against Gelatino. Gelatino here is playing a Fabled Frog deck, so I don't mind that at all. I'm going to go first this time, game 1. And here's my opening hand, basically. So I do have the combo of Striker and TG Striker, 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 so Striker Synchro. So I'm going to go into the Nat Beast here. I also have this, which is nice to thin the deck and load my grave with spells. I don't really have a lot of ways to protect my Nat Beast, unfortunately, but I do have 2 copies of Effect Veiler here, which can negate monster effects, which does come into handy. So this is a much, much better opening hand game 1 than the game 1 of the previous match. Much better showing for the deck, and much more typical showing for it too, based on my testing with this list. And then he gets the Swamp Frog. I negate it with a Veiler here, and then he just puts it back. He does have the Trap Dust Shoot, which is unfortunate. Another one of that really hurts the deck a lot. And he's going to set that, activate it on my turn, takes the other Veiler out, which would have been nice. I'm still able to push in for a okay amount of damage. I got a Toon Goblin Attack Force out here. I summon it during main phase 2 because he has Summoning Sickness, so I can't attack with it yet. But I am able to attack with it now because the turn has passed, goes to defense mode, pushed for a decent chunk of damage here. Bottomless here to protect stuff. Nothing but a bunch of monsters though, so my Naturia Beast isn't doing a lot. So we'll see here, he gets a trap as well. He gets his frog, attacks over my goblin, gets the Caius, banishes my dude, I banish his guy, and then I kill his Solemn, get a TG Striker, get another beast going, but he still has no spells, so this beast doesn't really do much. But I was able to get him down to 2100 attack here while I still have 8000, so while life points aren't everything, and he's definitely in a winning position with card advantage, I was able to push for a pretty decent amount of damage against this very competent deck. Like, because Fabled Frogs aren't like the number 1 best deck, that'd be like Tengu Plants and Agents and stuff. But Fabled Frog is a really, really high, high ceiling type of deck, I would say, or high bar type of deck. It's a very proper deck, so the fact that I'm able to push for this much damage while I'm still at 8000 with this very janky, like very unique custom deck, I think is at least somewhat impressive. But he does go into the Fabled Unicorn here, which does out my guy. And yeah, I think he's going to pretty much just wrap this game up. I might be able to defend myself. Yeah, I try to defend myself here a bit. I take no battle damage from Spell Striker, plus it can attack directly, so I'm able to do a bit of damage while, guarding myself a bit, but does get outed by the Trishula, and that just outs the board, and yeah, I think I pretty much just lose game 1 here, but we do have a game 2, so I'm not out yet. I have one more game. If I lose another game, I'm out of the tournament, but I'm not out yet. I'm going first. Bit of a weird hand here. I don't have the combo, but I do have Disruption. I have a Caius, so I sided my one of Caius in, which we'll see how it pans out for me here. So it's kind of a weird side deck option. Basically, just bottomless, Mystical Space Typhoon, and pass. I Veiler that again, so he just sets that. I destroy it, and I'm actually going to be able to push for damage here because of my injection failure. Again, this is like the secret MVP of the deck. Pushes for a shit ton of damage at the cost of life points. And yeah, so that's what I'm going to do here. Just push for damage. He doesn't have Gores, thankfully. If he did, I might have had a way to deal with it, but I just go Black Rose here, and Black Rose plus Injection Fairly, she pumps up to 3,400. That kills them, so that was a very fast win on my part there, game two. So I wrapped that up very quickly. Like you can see this, even if I don't get the combo, I can just aggro my way to win with Injection Fairy Lily and whatnot, and obviously staple spell cards like Mind Control help. But then he gets to go first. He has Thunder King. He shuffles my guy back and stuff. I passed earlier in the tournament when I had combo because Instant Fusion plus Striker is combo, but I did not do the combo because he has Thunder King, so he would have likely negated it, which wouldn't have been good for me because I didn't have follow up. And then he also had the Trap Dust Shoot, so then on the following turn he shuffled the TG Striker back, so I'm in a very bad position here, game three. I set a couple cards. I can't really out the Thunder King here. I have to wait. I have a Divine Wrath, so that might help me later. And I got the Foolish Burial, so now I do have a combo here. I have the Divine Wrath to out his Thunder King if he does choose to activate it. I have Instant Fusion, so I can either go into Naturia Beast or Naturia Barkion here. And I should probably go into Barkion because he does have traps. I do end up going into Beast though because I have the read that has more spells and traps because frog players do tend to run more spells. But I honestly should have had the read that this was Phoenix Wind Blast here because Frog Fabled especially does like to run this card. So, and if I had the read that it was Wind Blast, I probably should have gone Barkion. But it probably doesn't matter anyways because he can still activate this and pitch Cat Sith for a cost, which I didn't know he had. So regardless of whether I went Barkion or Beast, he could activate this, pitch it for Ghost. I could negate it with Barkion, but then he can still activate the effect of Catsith, which would destroy the Barkion. So while I did sort of beat myself up in the moment for going Beast instead of Barkion here, I don't think it matters in the long run because of Cat, which I did not know he had. So overall, I think while I misplayed here, I definitely should have gone Barkion. I don't think the misplay matter. I do think I just lose the board either way here. And I still can't out the Thunder King, and I'm dead here. So yeah, and even if I lance there, like I didn't set the lance. If I did, I would have survived a turn. But since he topped my bottomless trap hole with the Wind Blast, I would have drawn into bottomless, which does nothing. So I think regardless of what I did here, I did lose. So I did lose the second match. I did get out of the tournament with two match losses, no match wins. But I did have a very solid showing in the second match, I believe. The first match, not so much. But in case you want to see a bit more of what this deck can do, with this exact deck list. I do have a few more replays. I don't have a ton of replays with this exact deck list yet because I, switched things in and out. But I do have a few practice stools that came prior to this tournament, so I'll just show you a few of those as well. So this is me against Infernity going first. See, I got the combo here, so again, I have a bit of better luck in my practice games than in the actual tournament games here. And then he doesn't seem to be able to do anything. I got Barkion and Beast, so I can get both of them out, and it happens a few times in general. And I'm able to out that guy, and he sets a bunch of stuff. I try to go for that, and yeah, duel over. This was a best of three match, but he just rage quit after the. They just rage quit after the first game. But yeah, I can put up pretty solid boards sometimes. But next match, they go first, and I open two in table of contents, which is a bit unfortunate, but it happens. Utopia comes up a lot, I notice, in these practice games. Go into Barkion here, or Beast here. He can't use his spells now, or if he does, I can negate them. And I'm able to push for a lot of damage here. He's already down to 3,000 attack, or life points, 3,000 life points. And I can negate that. I do think he ends up piecing this board away. Yeah, he breaks this board pretty easily. Not easily, but he's able to break it. I have just this as a bluff here. I do think he wins this game, but we do go to game 2. But as you can see, I was able to fight a bit better than I was in my first match of the actual tournament. But this is game 2 of this match, and he's playing actual like Tengu plants, like just a solid Tengu plant. So this is the best deck in the format. This is like pretty much the best deck in the format. I'm not sure if his build is the best build, but it is a Tengu plant variant, which is the best deck in the format, and I'm just playing a completely custom deck, beating him down with the Fairy Lily, or trying to anyways, but he Valor's in the main phase. And he outs my Beast here. But I'm able to get this game under control a bit here. I do have a Monster Reborn mind control action going here. I do my body here to protect my Genorp Werewolf, and he's just a vanilla dude, but sometimes a vanilla dude is all you need. So yeah, this is a bit of a grindier game here, but it's going to be a grindier game against Tengu, against the main deck of the format here. And I'm able to just get my Xyz guy pushing for damage, and he's not able to out it, so I do win the game 2. So I actually took a game off of Tengu plants here. And so now we're going to game 3 scenario. They do get to go first because they lost, so they get to choose to go first. And I did not open the combo here, unfortunately. So it does happen quite frequently, but even if I don't open the combo, I can actually just push through. And see, I outed Thunder King right there with a Genorp World. This guy does come in handy, so even though it looks a bit goofy, and Utopia, again, very useful card. So even though it looks goofy to use my Genorp World, Mirror Force the Gores here, it does come in handy. It clears out Thunder King very nicely. We go into Brianna here, and I'm just able to push for a bunch of damage. So as you can see, all the way down to 1,600 life points. He's 1,600 life points away from getting a match loss against this deck, and he's playing Tengu plants, the best deck of the format. So this is a very commanding position. Fortunately, he does have mind control. He does have Monster Reborn. So even though I have bottomless with 2 big guys, he will make a big comeback here on his next turn. So that's a bit sad. He even destroys that bottomless with the MST that he just top decked. So he does clear my board, and he does end up winning the game here, I believe. Because I'm not really going to come back from this, yeah. So he does win the best of 3 match, but I still think this is a very good showing for the deck, because Tengu Plants is the best deck of the format, and I really, really put up my own. Game 1 was kind of whatever. Game 2, I won it. I won Game 2. I took a game off the best deck of the format with my janky deck, and I got him down to 1,600 life points. Had a very commanding position. Probably would have won had it not been for the 2 biggest, most powerful spell cards in the entire format. It took the 2 biggest generic power spells to stop my deck, and he was playing the best deck of the format. So if this is not a good showing for this deck, even though I lost the match, like, to show that it's at least a good contender to try to take into in a tournament, I don't know what is, aside from just straight winning the match, obviously, against the best deck. But this at least shows that my personal creation here, this Earth Synchro deck, or the Striker Synchro deck, can actually put up with the big boys, can actually put up a fight, can actually maybe do well in a tournament eventually. It didn't do well this time, but maybe it will do well in the future. I do want to play it again in a future tournament, maybe with a different side deck setup. And maybe even with a different main decks out, who knows, but it won't be too much different than the current list, because I do think I just had a fairly um, not too great showing in the tournament compared to some of the practice duels that I do get. So at least with the match one, match two, I think I'm perfectly happy with match two. I really am. Even though I lost it, I think it had a good showing in that match too. It did take a game off. It did reduce the life points down of the opponent pretty well in game one. Um, so it's like this aggro control strategy where it can input a lot of damage really fast, but it can also go into the grind game. It can control, it can protect, and Gene Warped Werewolf is really a better card than it looks on the surface because it can out the Thunder King. It can put in a lot of damage. It is a level 4 Earth non-tuner to help with synchro plays. I think this deck is just a lot of fun, and I hope you try it out. Try this out, deck out card for card, to maybe put in, a few changes once you've tried it out and felt it for yourself. But it's a very, very fun strategy, even if it doesn't always pan out. Even if I don't really get the draws to do well, maybe it's just not as consistent as it should be for a deck you run in a tournament. But it's my deck, it's my creation, and I'm proud of it. It's not much, but it's mine type of thing, and it can compete with Tengu plants. It can. Um, it might not win against it more often than not, but it can at least try to win against it, and it can take games off of it. It can almost certainly take matches off of it. So I do hope to put it into a tournament in the future. Hopefully I'll do better, and hopefully I can actually get a top in the tournament so that it gets like featured in some way, and just have that little piece of history in Tengu format. But even if I don't get that, it's still just a lot of fun to play. I just haven't had as much fun with Yu-Gi-Oh lately as I have had with this deck in this format. And it's not really playable in any other format. I cannot play this deck in Edison. I cannot play this deck in Redo format. I cannot play this deck in Hat format. I cannot play this deck in modern Yu-Gi-Oh format, in the modern like main advanced format. But I can play it in Tengu format, and I can do well in Tengu format. So even though my match results were pretty poor overall, not winning a single match in the tournament, um, it does show potential, and I'm proud of that at the very least. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more content in the future. I don't know how regularly I'll upload, but I do plan to do more Tengu content, probably do more games, and probably show more plays of this deck or other cool stuff, whether it's Tengu or otherwise. I hope you stick around for that. But for now, this is Froglio signing out.